Hello everyone, I am Ankur Chaudhary, and in this video lecture I'll be covering current affairs from the month of June 2017. So this will be the broad divisions of the topics that I'll be covering in this presentation. First, we'll take up important awards and honors, Indian and international. Next, news from the world of business. Next, news from politics, economy and finance, important people in news, sports, and of course miscellaneous. First, let's start with awards and honors. Firstly, the 5th Bhupen Hazarika National Award 2017 was conferred on eminent writer from Arunachal Pradesh, Mr. Yeshe Dorji Thongchi. Now, the Bhupen Hazarika National Award was constituted in the year 2012. It is given by Sarhad, which is a Mumbai-based NGO, for important achievements in the field of literature. Next, WHO, that is the World Health Organization, conferred Director General's Special Recognition Award to India's Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Mr. J.P. Nadda, for his leadership and commitment to advancing tobacco control. Now, India has very strict regulation as far as tobacco control is concerned. One of the prominent one being about 85% of the packet of a cigarette is covered with a graphical warning with respect to the negative effects of smoking, and number of other testing labs have also been constructed. So that's why this award is won by Mr. Nadda. Next, legendary Odia poet, essayist and columnist Mr. Harprasad Das was conferred with the covetous Kalinga Literary Award. Now, Kalinga Literary Award is one of the famous awards in the field of literature in the country. It is given by the Kalinga Foundation. This year, 2 new Kalinga awards have been introduced. First one being Kalinga International Literary Award, and the next one is Kalinga Karubaki Award. The Karubaki Award, as far as Kalinga is concerned, is given for excellence in Odia literature. Next, Israeli author Mr. David Grossman won the Man Booker International Prize for his novel A Horse Walks Into a Bar. Now, it's very important to note here that the Man Booker International Prize till last year was given to one author for a body of work written throughout his or her lifetime. However, from this year, the category in which the award is given has been edited, and now it can be given for one single piece of literature as well. Next, Project Jal Sanchay, which is a model of water conservation adopted successfully by the authorities in the Nalanda district of Bihar, was selected for the National Award for Excellence in the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Program by the MORD, that is Ministry of Rural Development. MORD, of course, is the nodal ministry for implementing MGNREGA. Next, for the 4th time in a row, Qatar Airways was named the best airline in the world for 2017 by leading consumer aviation website, that is Skytrax. Next, Miss Manushi Chillar from Haryana was crowned the FBB Colors Femina Miss India World for the year 2017. Next, Pune's Ramamani Iyengar Memorial Yoga Institute became the first recipient of the Prime Minister's Award for Outstanding Contribution for Promotion and Development of Yoga in the year 2017. Next, anti-hunger activist Mr. Ankit Kawatra was awarded the Queen's Young Leaders Award for 2017 at a ceremony held at the Buckingham Palace in London. Next, Kanya Shri Prakalp. It is a scheme launched by Ms. Mamata Banerjee, who is the Chief Minister of West Bengal, in October 2013, won her government the United Nations Public Service Award at the Hague in the Netherlands. Now, Kanya Shri Prakalp is a conditional cash transfer scheme aimed at improving the overall conditions of adolescent girls especially from the disadvantaged or poor families. Next, the Sahitya Academy, which is the highest academy for literature in India, announced the winners of its Yuva Puraskar 2017. Now the names of the winners are as such not very important for your papers, but why this award is given or in which field is this award given, that is very important. The Yuva Puraskar is awarded annually for the first book, this is important, or the best book by an author of age 35 years and below. Next, we see some important news from the world of business. Firstly, Anil Ambani owned Reliance Communications finally revealed that the new Arcom Aircel merged entity will be called Aircom after the completion of the proposed deal. So you see a lot of consolidation which is happening in the Indian telecom sector, with a large number of smaller companies being acquired by bigger companies. Next, the IRDAI, which is Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India. It is the premier organization for regulation of insurance sector in the country. It took over the administration of Sahara India Life Insurance. It is the first of its kind move in the insurance sector. Now, some of you may remember in the year 2013, there was a case against the Sahara Group for taking money of around 23,000 crore rupees from Indian investors. This complaint was registered by SEBI. Now, after that, a lot of actions have been taken against the Sahara Group. So again, this particular company, Sahara India Life Insurance, was a part of Sahara Group, now has been taken over by IRDAI. Next, in one of the biggest corporate deals in the recent memory, telecom giant Verizon, it is the number one telecom company in USA, acquired Yahoo's core business for rupees 4.48 billion. Now, Verizon earlier acquired the company called AOL. Now, AOL and the newly acquired Yahoo company will be merged, and it will be known as an entity known as Oath. So this is important. Next, the world's first ATM or automatic teller machine celebrated its 50th anniversary. It was opened on June 27, 1967 at a branch of Barclays Bank in Enfield, which is north of London. So in this case, the name of the bank is important. Next, EU, that is European Union antitrust regulators, hit Google with a record $2.7 billion fine for favoring its own shopping services in the search results. This was construed as an anti-competitive practice, and that is why Google has been fined for this. Next, Anil Ambani's Reliance Defense Ammunition, which is a subsidiary of Reliance Infrastructure, entered into a strategic partnership with Serbia's state-run Yugo Import to manufacture ammunition in India. Now again, you will see a lot of news related to privatization of defense, because now private manufacturing has been permitted as far as defense equipments are concerned. Earlier, it was the sole monopoly of the government of India. Next, we see some important news from politics. The Union Cabinet approved the interest subvention scheme. It is nothing but a subsidy for farmers given on the interest rate. So, let us say if the market rate for any loan given to a farmer is 8%, the farmer would be given a 4% subsidy. This is known as interest subvention scheme. So eventually 8 minus 4%, the farmer will be charged only 4% interest. Right. So for the Union Cabinet approved the interest subvention scheme for farmers for the year 2017-18. This will help farmers getting short-term crop loans up to rupees 3 lakh payable within 1 year at only 4% per annum. Next, India and the UN Office for South-South Cooperation. UN Office for South-South Cooperation launched a partnership fund that will support sustainable development projects across the developing world. Next, economy and finance. First, the Union Cabinet approved the proposal to introduce a Financial Resolution and Deposit Insurance Bill 2017. So what the provisions of the bill will be dealing with bankruptcy in the case of financial institutions like banks or insurance companies. Next, China led AIIB, that is Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, approved a $150 million equity investment loan to the India Infrastructure Fund. India Infrastructure Fund. It is important because it is the bank's first such loan to fund private projects in the country. The India Infrastructure Fund was formed to basically provide subsidized or low cost financing to private infrastructure projects. So AIIB will be putting in around $150 million in this particular fund. Next, India's Forex Reserve. Forex, of course, is a short form for foreign exchange. It surged by rupees $2.4 billion to reach a lifetime high of $381.17 billion. Now, as far as Forex reserves of India are concerned, RBI is the custodian. That is where this Forex reserves are kept. The Forex reserves include foreign currency, special depository receipts, IMF currency and gold. Next, India is among the top 5 consumer markets in Asia, offering retailers consumer spending growth of an average 6.1% over the next 5 years according to BMI, which is a Fitch Group company. Next, Vijaya Bank has announced to develop as many as 100 digital villages in various states of the country as part of its initiative to promote digital banking among the rural population. Now, Vijaya Bank has taken the lead over all other banks in terms of digitalization or spreading awareness of digital banking across the village. It has already adopted 5 villages for this purpose, and in doing so, it became the first bank in India to take up such a project. Next, aiming to reduce emissions and promote sustainability to help India's smart city project, France and the European Union extended a grant of 3.5 million euros under the Mobilize Your City initiative. So, MYC initiative will be complementing the efforts under Smart City program of Government of India. Next, the World Bank announced a loan of $35 million for Aspire, that is Assam State Public Finance Institutional Reform Project. This project is aimed at strengthening the state departments of finance, taxation and excise. Next, to finance its 24/7 water supply project, the Pune Municipal Corporation launched India's biggest ever municipal bonds program. Now, the Pune Municipal Corporation will be issuing bonds and raising funds up close to 2,250 crore rupees over the course of next 5 years. This will be the largest municipal bonds program in the country. Next, the Goods and Services Tax Council announced to set up a 5-member anti-profiteering authority. This is very important. Now, the idea is that because of GST, the tax liability or the tax costs of various producers would be coming down. Now, this reduction in cost should be transferred to the consumers by the producers. If the producers are not doing so, then the anti-profiteering authority would be taking strict actions against such producers who are not transferring the benefits of GST to their customers. Next, Switzerland ratified automatic exchange of financial account information with India and 40 other countries. Now, as you must be knowing, Switzerland has been known as a tax haven where a lot of people park their illegal funds in the country. Now, after such an agreement, people will not be doing that easily. Next, India's current account deficit narrowed during the last fiscal due to contraction in the country's trade deficit. Trade deficit is nothing but the value of imports minus exports. So, when this value comes down, then the current account deficit also comes down. Now, the CAD for the last fiscal narrowed to 0.7% of the GDP from 1.1% in 2015-16. Next, according to the World Population Prospectus, the revision, that is the name of the report released by the United Nations. India with 1.3 billion inhabitants would surpass China's population of 1.4 billion by 2024. Now, as according to earlier estimates, India was supposed to overtake China only by the year 2050, but of course China's reduction in the rate of population growth is much higher. India is still growing at a pretty fast pace, so that is why this timeline has reduced. Next, we look at some important people in news. Firstly, eminent poet, literature and Jnanpith awardee Mr. C. Narayan Reddy, who was popularly known as Sinare, passed away at the age of 85 years. He was a prominent writer and popular for using Telugu in its purest form. He had also won the Padma Bhushan Padma Shri award recently. Next, US President Trump nominated lawyer and former Justice Department official Mr. Christopher Wray as the new FBI director. Next, Ganeshan Neelkant Iyer, the only assigned competition manager of International Table Tennis Federation, became the first Indian to be nominated as a member of Umpires and Referees Committee of the ITTF. Next, Dr. Neeru Chadha was elected as the judge of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Seas. It is one of the organs of the United Nations, thus becoming the first Indian woman to be elected to ITLOS. Now, Dr. Neeru Chadha also is the second woman from India to be heading a UN body after Miss Vijay Lakshmi Pandit became the president of United Nations General Assembly. Next, Miss Preet Kaur Gill became the first Sikh woman and Tanmanjeet Singh Desi, the first turban wearing Sikh politician to be elected to the UK House of Commons, which is the lower house in the Parliament of United Kingdom. Next, very important, Mr. Rajachari, a 39-year-old Indian American Lieutenant Colonel with the US Air Force, is among 12 astronaut candidates selected from a record 18,000 applicants by NASA for missions into Earth orbit and deep space. So this is a long-term program of NASA to be sending astronauts or manned missions across deep space. Next, cricketer Sachin Tendulkar joined a roster of global celebrities including David Beckham and Novak Djokovic for a UNICEF campaign called Super Dads. Now, Super Dads is a campaign by the UN which seeks to highlight the role that men should be playing in the upbringing of the children. Next, Miss Sahithi Pingali, a class 12 student of Inventure Academy, Bangalore, joined an elite league of people to have a minor planet in the Milky Way named after them. Next, Shashi Shekhar Vempati, a former principal architect of Infosys Technologies, was appointed the new CEO of public broadcaster Prasar Bharati. Next, veteran politician Sher Bahadur Deoba was sworn in as the 40th Prime Minister of Nepal. Next, Mr. Desh Bandhu Gupta was the founder and chairman of Pharma Major Lupin, passed away at the age of 79 years. Next, former Chancellor of Germany, who was the architect of Germany's 1990s reunification and mentor to the current Chancellor, Miss Angela Merkel. He died at the age of 87 years. Next, former Chief Economic Advisor, Mr. Kaushik Basu, took over as the President of the International Economic Association with a 3-year term. Next, Kenneth Juster, Deputy Director of National Economic Council, will be appointed as the next US Ambassador to India. Next, UNICEF announced the appointment of its youngest Goodwill Ambassador, the 19-year-old Syrian refugee and education activist Ms. Muzoon Al-Melehan, making her the first Goodwill envoy with an official refugee status. Next, former Chief Justice of India, Justice P.N. Bhagwati, who was considered as the pioneer of judicial activism in the country for introducing the concept of PILs. He passed away. PILs of course stand for public interest litigations. Next, Miss Palbinder Kaur Shergill became the first turbaned Sikh woman to be appointed as Canada's Supreme Court judge. Next, some important news from the world of sports. Firstly, Anil Kumble stepped down as the head coach of India. The current position has of course been filled by Mr. Ravi Shastri. Next, BCCI has constituted a special 7-member committee to identify the few critical points for the general body of cricket board to consider before they are submitted to the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court had constituted 4-member team to take control of the administration of BCCI. They have to provide a report to the Supreme Court. For that purpose, this committee has been formed. Next, Kidambi Srikanth won his second successive Super Series title with a straight game triumph over reigning Olympic champion Chen Long in the Australian Open Summit clash in Sydney. Next, India were outplayed in every department of the game as Pakistan won the ICC Champions Trophy 2017. Now Pakistan has become the 4th team after West Indies, Sri Lanka and India to have won the World Cup, World T20 and Champions Trophy. Next, Mr. Srinivas Gokulnath and Amit Samarth created history by becoming the first Indians to complete the 4,900 kilometer race across America in the solo 18 to 59 years age category. Next, we take a look at some miscellaneous news. Firstly, Indians working across the globe sent home $62.7 billion last year, making India the top remittances receiving country, surpassing China. India gets maximum of its remittances from the Middle East countries. Next, in an effort to curb antibiotic resistance, WHO, that is the World Health Organization, has divided drugs into 3 categories. First is access, watch and reserve. These have been specified on the basis of which how they are to be used for common ailments and which are to be kept for complicated diseases. For example, the drugs which are included in the category that is access will be available over the counter freely, and as far as reserve category drugs are concerned, they will be given only in case of very complicated health issues. Next, BRICS nations established a $1 million fund for boosting media cooperation in the 5-nation grouping. Next, as per the Global Peace Index released by the Australia-based Institute for Economics and Peace, Iceland remains the most peaceful country in the world, a position that it has held since the year 2008. Bhutan, which ranked 13, has been named as the most peaceful country in South Asia, followed by Sri Lanka 80th, Bangladesh at 84th, India at 137th, Pakistan 152nd and Afghanistan 162nd. Next, President Donald Trump of the USA announced that USA would withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord. The Paris Agreement or Paris Climate Accord was of course signed in the year 2015. It was supposed to succeed the Kyoto Protocol, which put certain limitations on greenhouse gas emissions on developed countries. Now, President Trump during his election campaign also highlighted that this deal is not suitable or appropriate for USA. That is why he has withdrawn, and it is seen as a huge setback for the Paris Climate Accord. Next, the Odisha government is all set to commission the ambitious early warning dissemination system. Of course, this system is related to disaster management, and it will be providing advanced warnings in case of hurricanes or typhoons. Next, the Telangana government launched a digital wallet named T-Wallet, which won't charge a transaction fee from consumers. Basically, T-Wallet is a digital wallet which will facilitate e-transactions but without any transaction fee. Next, June 21st was celebrated as the International Yoga Day. Now the date June 21st is very important as far as Indian traditions are concerned. It is related to the summer solstice. Next, China unveiled world's first train that runs on a virtual track. Virtual track making use of sensor technology instead of metal rails. Next, the World Day to combat desertification and drought was observed on June the 17th to promote public awareness in order to combat desertification across the world. Next, under the Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin, rural Uttarakhand and rural Haryana declared themselves as the 4th and 5th open defecation free states of India after Himachal, Kerala and Sikkim. So that's it from me today. I hope you find this helpful. Thank you very much.